Yeah, John, this has been a long-running investigation, a 5-year investigation that the FBI has focused dozens of agents. They've looked at thousands of tips that have come in, video, hundreds of pieces of video. And this morning, the FBI has made an arrest.
Did you know that one of the biggest FBI mysteries in recent years was hiding a clue no one noticed, even though it was captured on camera the entire time? A masked man appeared in surveillance footage, moving calmly, leaving behind questions but no identity. For months, he remained untouchable, a ghost in plain sight. Investigators chased shadows, and the public was left guessing. Then the FBI released new surveillance footage. This time, something was different. Small details began to expose a truth far more shocking than anyone expected. And what that footage revealed would finally unravel the mystery of the masked man. The night the bombs were placed. At 7:30 p.m., the cameras were already watching, but no one watching the cameras knew they were witnessing the start of one of the most dangerous unsolved operations in modern American history. A lone figure appeared on surveillance footage near the Capitol Hill neighborhood. The person moved with quiet confidence, not rushing, not hiding, not acting nervous. They wore a gray hoodie pulled over their head, a face mask covering their identity, gloves, dark pants, and Nike athletic shoes. On their back was a dark backpack. Nothing about the person looked unusual. That was the first warning sign investigators would later recognize. The suspect didn't look suspicious because they didn't want to be remembered. At approximately 7:40 p.m., the individual entered an alley beside the Republican National Committee headquarters. Security footage shows them sitting down casually. To anyone passing by, it would look like someone resting after a long walk. But this moment would later become one of the most critical timestamps in the entire investigation. Hidden from view, the suspect reached into the backpack and placed a device behind the scene. It was a timer mechanism designed to trigger the explosion later. This was not random. This was deliberate, assembled with precision and placed with intent. After setting the device, the suspect stood up and walked away calmly, showing no urgency, no panic, and no sign that they had just planted an explosive. Then, at around 8:14 in the evening, the same figure appeared again, this time near the Democratic National Committee headquarters, just a short distance away. Once again, the suspect sat down on a bench. Once again, it looked completely normal. But investigators later confirmed this was when the second pipe bomb was placed. Same design, same materials, same calculated calmness. The FBI would later reconstruct the entire route using multiple surveillance cameras, mapping each movement minute by minute. The suspect knew where to go. They knew where the cameras were positioned. They never revealed their face. They never interacted with anyone. And most importantly, they never hesitated. Both devices remained hidden overnight. No one noticed. No alarms sounded. The masked individual had disappeared into the darkness long before anyone realized what had been left behind. And that raises the question investigators still struggled with at the time. How does someone walk through one of the most monitored areas in the country, plant 2 explosive devices, and vanish without a trace? Early investigation and dead ends. After the bombs were discovered, the FBI faced a race against time, but almost immediately the investigation hit frustrating dead ends. Officials began by analyzing every piece of digital and physical evidence left behind. Geofence warrants were issued, tracking phones pinging near the RNC and DNC locations that evening. Cell tower data revealed dozens of devices, but none could be directly linked to the masked figure. Investigators quickly realized that the person had avoided carrying a traceable phone. Every lead seemed to evaporate the moment it appeared. At the same time, the suspect's footwear became a crucial clue. The Nike Air Max Speed Turf shoes with the yellow logo were rare. Only around 25,000 pairs were sold between 2018 and 2021. FBI analysts tried to trace purchases through stores, online orders, and even sneaker resellers, but the trail went cold. Meanwhile, more than 600 tips poured in from the public. Each tip promised a breakthrough, yet most turned into dead ends. Witnesses described a figure who was male or female, tall or of average height, but nothing concrete emerged. The suspect's gender remained unknown. The motive? A complete mystery. As investigators struggled to make progress, online speculation began to spread. Conspiracy theories flourished, some claiming a false flag operation, others insisting the federal government itself was involved. These theories exploded on social media, drawing attention away from hard evidence. Analysts had to sift through mountains of speculation to separate facts from fiction, a painstaking process that slowed the investigation. Even with modern technology, the case seemed frozen. The geofence warrants, shoe tracking, and hundreds of tips had provided valuable context, but no definitive identification. Every avenue appeared to stall. Every lead seemed to vanish. Yet investigators knew the masked figure had left behind clues that could eventually unravel the case. They just had to connect them correctly. The early investigation shows how elusive a single, methodical individual can be in a city filled with cameras and witnesses. It also illustrates how modern crime fighting relies on a combination of technology, public cooperation, and sheer persistence. Even when everything appears stalled, investigators are often gathering the pieces for a breakthrough that only becomes visible later. While the FBI worked behind the scenes, the public narrative raced ahead. Conspiracies flourished, news cycles speculated, and social media debates swirled, creating a fog of distraction around the real investigation. Yet hidden in that fog were subtle, traceable clues, small hints that would eventually lead to a breakthrough. Renewed push with new footage. Fast forward to October 2025. After years of stalled leads, the FBI released a major update. High-resolution surveillance footage, including longer, previously unseen clips. Gone were the grainy snippets that had frustrated analysts and the public alike. Now, every movement, every pause, every subtle gesture was captured in unprecedented detail. The suspect, once a ghost in the Capitol Hill shadows, began to take shape. This footage didn't just record events. It told a story that investigators could finally follow step by step. The updated videos revealed the suspect's full route, showing movements that had been previously overlooked. There were brief pauses at corners, glances toward security cameras, even a tense encounter with a dog walker. Analysts noted the suspect's precise mannerisms, careful foot placement, measured steps, and the way the backpack swung slightly with each stride. These were small but significant details, giving the FBI a window into the person's behavior and level of preparation. One clip even captured the suspect sitting casually on the DNC bench, perfectly composed for several minutes, nonchalant, yet carrying a backpack that would soon be recognized as crucial evidence. In January 2025, the FBI released further analysis alongside the footage. For the first time, investigators could confidently record the suspect's height at 5 feet 7 inches, and the backpack was shown in close-up. Analysts synced these images with geo-fenced cell data from January 2021, cross-referencing phones in the area during the key hour. This combination of digital and visual evidence began narrowing the suspect pool dramatically. The once untraceable masked figure started to feel human, someone investigators could hunt with purpose rather than theory. The new footage changed everything because it created a timeline of action that had been impossible to visualize before. From North Carolina Avenue Southwest, the suspect cut through alleys and finally vanished near Canal Street at 8:18 in the evening. Every new frame became a clue. Analysts treated the footage like a digital breadcrumb trail, aligning moments of movement with the previously collected geofence data and hundreds of public tips. Each pause, each stride, each retraced step now had meaning. Beyond the physical evidence, the footage helped investigators identify behavioral patterns. The suspect was methodical but adaptive, moving in ways that anticipated cameras and potential witnesses. They blended into public spaces, interacting minimally with passers-by, yet leaving enough trace for careful analysis. The dog walker encounter, for instance, highlighted both the suspect's awareness of their surroundings and the randomness of urban observation. Small incidents that had seemed irrelevant in 2021 now provided insight into planning, timing, and composure under pressure. Once released, the updated footage triggered a surge of tips from the public. Citizens who had seen or recognized movement patterns, clothing details, or locations came forward. Each tip could now be cross-referenced with the high-definition videos, creating a multiplying effect for the investigation. For the first time, the case moved from theory to action. What competitors often miss is that this wasn't just about video. The visual record intersected with digital traces, searches, patterns, and online activity linked to potential suspects. The FBI now had a multi-layered puzzle combining human observation, geolocation, and behavioral analytics. This chapter of the investigation proved that when the ghost in the shadows is finally illuminated, even the most methodical suspect can leave enough breadcrumbs for justice to follow. The breakthrough arrest. On the morning of December 4, 2025, the quiet streets of Woodbridge, Virginia, were suddenly alive with flashing lights and wailing sirens. FBI agents, joined by multiple law enforcement partners, descended on a suburban home with precision. Inside, 30-year-old Brian J. Cole Jr., a local resident living quietly with his parents, would soon be taken into custody. After years of dead ends and unanswered questions, the masked man seen on Capitol Hill footage had finally been identified. The arrest was the culmination of a painstaking investigation. Authorities had connected geofence data, surveillance footage, and hundreds of tips over the years. But it was the high-resolution videos released in 2025 that created the breakthrough. Analysts could now match Cole's height, gait, and backpack with the suspect captured on camera. Cell phone pings along the route he took on the evening of January 5, 2021, aligned perfectly with the extended surveillance sequences. Even doorbell cameras from neighbors, once overlooked, provided additional confirmation. Every breadcrumb pointed to the same person. Attorney General Pamela Bondi addressed the press, highlighting the multi-agency effort behind the operation. This was the work of multiple agencies coordinated over years. Today, justice takes a decisive step forward. We have him. FBI Director Kash Patel praised the painstaking investigative work, emphasizing that technology, collaboration, and public tips were critical to solving a case that had stymied law enforcement for years. Deputy Bongino, representing federal oversight, described it as a triumph of persistence. This case proves that no lead, no matter how small, should be dismissed. Inside the Woodbridge home, Cole's life appeared ordinary, almost unremarkable. Friends and neighbors had described him as quiet, reclusive, and intensely private. Yet under the calm surface, investigators discovered evidence linking him to the pipe bombs placed near the RNC and DNC headquarters. The devices themselves had never exploded, but forensic analysis confirmed they were functional and designed to inflict serious damage. Additional items seized during the raid, including components matching the original pipe bombs, reinforced the case. Investigators stressed that Cole acted alone. There were no political affiliations, no extremist groups, no co-conspirators. His motives remained unclear in full, but the evidence established a clear timeline of his movements that night. Surveillance footage showed him pausing at corners, sitting on the DNC bench, and walking with calculated calm. Phone data corroborated each step. The combination of visual, digital, and tip-based evidence created an airtight case. Cole was charged under 18 United States Code, Section 844, covering transportation and intent to use explosive devices to damage property. His court appearance was swift, signaling the seriousness of the federal response. Prosecutors indicated that additional charges were likely as the investigation continued, including potential conspiracy counts and possession of unregistered explosives. This arrest marked a turning point. For years, the masked man had been a phantom, an enigma captured in grainy footage and scattered tips. Now he was concrete, accountable, and behind bars. The breakthrough demonstrated the power of persistence, the importance of combining new technology with old-fashioned legwork, and how patient investigative work can eventually illuminate even the darkest, most calculated crimes. The confession and digital trail. Once in FBI custody, Brian J. Cole Jr. finally spoke, providing investigators with insights that had eluded them for nearly 5 years. According to court documents and affidavits, he didn't deny his actions. He admitted planting the pipe bombs on Capitol Hill on January 5, 2021, but expressed relief that they never detonated and caused no harm. For the first time, the mystery surrounding the masked man began to yield clarity. Authorities now had not just physical evidence, but an account from the suspect himself. Cole's confession painted an unexpected picture. There was no manifesto, no organized group, and no connection to political movements. He hadn't attended the January 6 rally. Instead, the investigation revealed a new storyline: a lone actor radicalized through digital curiosity and isolation. The bombs, he explained, were constructed using knowledge gained from video game tutorials and science-related YouTube videos. Simple ingredients, readily available online, became tools in the hands of a methodical, self-taught experimenter. This wasn't traditional extremism, it was DIY terror emerging from modern screens. Investigators traced Cole's activities through a combination of cell phone pings, bank records, and purchase histories. Each data set aligned with his confession, corroborating the timeline of January 5. Phone pings mapped his precise route from the Capitol reflecting pool to the RNC alley and the DNC bench. Bank records revealed purchases of hobby materials consistent with the pipe bomb components. Analysts could reconstruct the full preparation phase, research, assembly, and placement of the devices. The digital footprint was meticulous, almost as revealing as the surveillance footage itself. The significance of this confession goes beyond a single attack. Cole was not ideologically driven. He acted alone, motivated by curiosity, opportunity, and digital knowledge. This case underscores a growing concern for law enforcement. In a world of infinite online tutorials, unsupervised access can turn ordinary curiosity into dangerous behavior. NYT reports and FBI affidavits describe this as a new form of threat. Individuals inspired by media, gaming, and online experiments, rather than political or extremist ideology. For investigators, the confession offered critical rehooks. First, it confirmed that the threat came from a lone actor, resolving lingering conspiracy theories about government involvement or orchestrated false flags. Second, it highlighted the power of digital traces, phone data, video surveillance, and online behavior. Together built a full picture of the suspect. Third, it shifted public understanding of the case, not a politically motivated bombing, but a cautionary tale about the blind spots of digital influence and curiosity. Implications for January 6th and security. For years, the masked man case was surrounded by swirling conspiracies and half-truths. Online sleuths fueled speculation, claiming the bomber was a government plant, pointing to blurry surveillance footage or the MetroCard trail as proof of a hidden agenda. Some outlets even floated the idea of a female federal employee involved, citing unverified reports from fringe sources. These claims spread quickly, amplified by social media, distracting attention from the painstaking investigative work being carried out by law enforcement. But the truth, revealed through thorough FBI documentation, court filings, and press briefings, was far simpler and far more grounded. The FBI addressed Congress directly, clarifying the Metro card leads. Letters to representatives, such as Representative Loudermilk, confirmed that the cards were linked to an innocent rally attendee, completely unrelated to the pipe bomb placements. The woman mentioned in certain reports? Unconnected, civilian, and entirely innocent. There was no tampering, no cover-up, no hidden agenda behind the investigation or the release of updated footage. Each piece of evidence, from cell pings to geofenced routes to high-resolution surveillance, was meticulously vetted before public disclosure. Independent timelines published by outlets such as PBS and CNN reinforced that the case's progress was driven by forensic analysis and modern investigative techniques, not political plots or secret agendas. Irony played its part in public perception as well. Figures like Deputy Bongino, who had previously promoted conspiracy narratives, were now part of the official investigative and reporting machinery. Their prior positions fueled online chatter, but the case itself demonstrated that methodical patient investigation outperformed speculation every time. Once Brian J. Cole Jr. was arrested, these myths unraveled. The real story was never glamorous or politically charged. It was about data, digital tracking, and detailed cross-referencing of evidence. Beyond debunking myths, the case carries lessons for security, law enforcement, and the broader public. The pipe bombs were ultimately a sideshow compared to the events of January 6, 2021, yet they amplified national fears of violence and disruption. The capture of a lone actor highlights how threats can emerge independently of partisan motives, existing in parallel with larger events but not necessarily tied to them. This has implications for policy and preparedness. Threats may come from isolated individuals motivated by curiosity, access to online tutorials, or personal impulses rather than organized movements. Analysis proved decisive. These methods illustrate the potential for enhanced surveillance and tracking to solve cold cases or prevent future incidents. But they also raise questions about privacy, ethics, and oversight. The case demonstrates the delicate balance between proactive security and civil liberties, reminding policymakers, investigators, and the public that modern threats require modern responses. The mystery of the masked man is finally solved, showing how patience, technology, and careful investigation uncover the truth. Stay tuned, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to never miss updates on major cases like this.